Professor Raghavendra, Dean Academics, Professor B. Priestley Shan, the Executive Director, Professor Firoz, the Director of the Media Studies, and my friend, Professor Dr. Trishu Sharma, and of course, Professor Fakir Mohan Nayak, who has always been active in the in the world of media education, I would say, and esteemed heads of departments, and faculty members, research scholars, all those who are participating in this very important FDP being organized by the Chandigarh University. Compliments to you, to the entire department under the dynamic leadership of the Honorable Vice Chancellor for taking the initiative of upskilling educators, because that is at the core of national education policy to which the Honorable Vice Chancellor referred. Upskilling of educators, training of trainers, because let me tell you, if this NEP is to be implemented in letter and spirit, it can be done not just by the government, state or central, or the vice chancellors, or the ministers or the departments concerned. The pivot of this entire process, NEP, this transformational process, is undoubtedly the teacher. It is the teacher who will shape the future of Indian education. So teacher education is going to be very critical, because the entire pedagogy, the entire flexibility that has been weaved into the new national education policy has to be heralded by none other than the teacher. How the two key words in the national education policy is problem solving and critical thinking. Now, no amount of infrastructure can inculcate, train the students either in problem solving or critical thinking. It is only the teacher, whether it is through online or classroom teaching, can bring about this change. Indian teachers have all along done exceedingly well. Indian students have all along done exceedingly well. But what is it that did not enable us to be part of the top 100 universities in the world, to be part of global rankings, except one or two examples here and there? Despite having the best of students, the CEOs of the top Fortune 500 companies, many CEOs and COOs are of Indian origin. You have several scientists at NASA who are of Indian origin. Silicon Valley, you have a sizable presence. But in spite of that, you find that when it comes to rankings, Indian education lags behind. And that is because we never focused enough on teachers, on the importance of teachers. We in this country of Guru Shishya Parampara, we wanted our children to be doctors, engineers, software specialists, everything but teachers. I have not heard a parent saying that I want my child to grow up and become a good teacher. Maybe as a society we did not give them the due respect. The NEP is going to change all that. Institutions of excellence will have to bring in the best teachers. And the best teachers don't just come in terms of merit and experience. The best teachers are those teachers who keep themselves constantly updated. That is the hallmark of a teacher. A teacher has to be a great learner first. Today, with the advent of digital media and Google, the information level, in terms of information level, there is a level playing field between the student and the teacher. In fact, the student may be in a more advantageous position compared to the teacher, because the student has all the time under the sun to access gadgets, access internet, as against the teacher who has his own official responsibilities in addition to personal and social responsibilities. So the student is flooded with a lot of information. But what distinguishes the student from the teacher is not the information. It is the wisdom and knowledge that should distinguish between the teacher and the student. The learned and the learner. It is here that your constant upskilling is required. It is here that we engage ourselves in a continuous process. I really appreciate what the Dean Academics said. You know, that Hero Honda advertisement is still fresh in my mind. Fill it, shut it, forget it. Particularly during the pandemic, there was a race for certificates. Even if you put the poster of a cultural program, people will ask, is there a certificate for that? That kind of craze was there, you know. Everybody was piling up certificates like anything. But certificates for what? What is the objective? Is it only for improving my position in the organization, for my API scores? Or is it for betterment of the students, of the institutions? Can I take that knowledge forward? In fact, many FDPs today, only recently, last week I was in an FDP I was the inaugural speaker at Delhi University, and repeatedly the CPDHE director had to tell the participants, please switch on your cameras, please switch on your cameras, because everybody mutes and then they disappear, they do their work. So has it become, and I wanted to ask this question, has it become more of a ritual that we are attending FDPs, we are attending refresher courses, we are attending orientation programs? It is not part of a ritual. It is not just our duty, but it is a necessity. That is something that you have to understand. Otherwise, you will become outdated, obsolete before the students. I have seen classrooms where the students have pointed out to teachers that so and so information has been taken from Wikipedia. What a suicidal moment for the teacher. If a student is able to point out to you that you have lifted this from so and so, there is a need for constant upgradation and homework. And I am happy to see the media educators across the country who are today, though we are a very small, segment of the education sector. Despite the fact that we are a century-old discipline, we are this year celebrating 100 years of media education. What started with Dr. Annie Besant, we are celebrating those 100 years. So it is very important that in this 100 years, we look back, reflect, and see what we have achieved as a discipline, mass communication as a discipline, and what is the way forward. It is time. Other disciplines have matured, have arrived. We have problems. We have shortcomings. We don't have a standardization unlike other programs. We don't have a regulator unlike an AICTE or a Medical Council of India or a Bar Council of India or a Dental Council of India. We have all kinds of odds against us. Even today it is not mandatory for any student, any journalist to necessarily have a degree or diploma in journalism. Unlike you cannot become a doctor without an MBBS or an engineer without your, degree or diploma. But you can become a journalist. You have very loose terms like citizen journalist. You don't use terms like citizen doctor, citizen engineer, citizen chartered accountant. But when it comes to our profession, we have such words, terminology. So, media education has become all the more difficult. Because there is no regulation, every nook and corner, every street, you have teaching shops. And they are misleading the younger generation by promising careers in anchoring, careers as reporters. But there is nobody to check and verify. So it is important that it is only the credibility of the teacher which is going to finally, to be decisive. So I'm really happy whenever I see these FDP programs, when I see our teachers upgrading their skills. Now, what is happening in the media sector? Is it just technological changes? Perhaps a very good and affluent university like the Chandigarh University may be able to afford a good infrastructure. But is it the case with every university in this country? Hundreds of state universities? Is it the same position? Maybe a Makhanlal University, which is a self-financed university, being Asia's first and India's largest university, we have, we can develop our infrastructure. An IIMC can develop its own infrastructure. But what about the rest? And how far can we can match with the industry? Can we upgrade technology at the rate of the industry? No. I cannot. I cannot match the pace of the industry. Because technology is changing by the day. They are bringing in new hardware, new softwares. How much can I match them? How much can I invest? Their investments are in hundreds of crores. Mine a couple of crores. That's a huge difference. So what do I do? What is going to be my forte? Yes, I have to make them technology friendly. But the focus has to be on content. Because content creation is going to make all the difference. The day is gone when A selection of a candidate used to be on the basis of the school or the college or university from which he came. Now the selection is on the basis of the student's ability to adapt. Are you as a student a multitasker, a multi-skilled person? Can I develop the student as a multitasker? Because when he or she goes to the industry, the big challenge is that are they multitaskers or are they unidimensional? Are they going to be only focused on writing, or can they do writing, reporting, editing? Using the social media, can they simultaneously do all that? Do they have the capacity to handle? Do they have the speed? Can they follow the fundamentals of journalism, including fact-checking, objectivity and accuracy? Do they have diverse content? Can they grab eyeballs within split seconds because the attention spans are coming down like anything? Can I groom such content creators is going to be the big challenge in media education. The big challenge in terms of media education is going to be, am I going to create very good storytellers? And that too, the future is that of visual storytelling. The images are back. We used to be taught long time back that a photograph is worth more than 1,000 words. Today, the visual is back with a bang. People don't have the patience nor the time to read through lengthy, tedious text content. India is the largest consumer of videos. Can I train my students to produce high quality, best of videos full of quality content? I have young friends, I can cite examples like Shalabh Upadhyaya of News. It is not New J, it is News. That's how you pronounce typically in UP Bihar. News dekha kya? News. It is N-U-N-E-W-J. He took it from there, and you have small capsules of information which is in the common man's language. It's not very long, and within a few minutes it tells you a very powerful story. You have organizations like InShots. Because people don't have the time or the patience. Can I give them good quality content within a short span? Am I training people for that? Can they use a technology in that? A few years back, before this corona and all that, you had a FICCI KPMG study said that you have over 16,000 vacancies for people who are trained in animation, visual effects, comics and gaming. That is the space at which the demand for animation is growing. Forget children, even adults are hooked on to, animation content. The entire anime series, the K dramas and the C dramas and all that stuff. People want good animation, people want good comics. Youngsters are into gaming like anything. And this is all media. This is all mass communication. Mass communication is not just about journalism. Mass communication has expanded its horizons. Advertisement, beyond advertisement and public relations, into CSR, into event management. Am I training my students in those newly emerging areas? Any event, right from an international to a national to a local to a family event. You have wedding planners. You don't have to get the ration from the wholesale market for the wedding in the family. Everything is meticulously taken care of by wedding planners. Now, who are they? They are event managers. Event management again is an integral part. So many of my students are doing extremely, good work in terms of event management. Today, there is a paradigm shift. We are not just looking at job seekers, we are grooming job creators. Atmanirbhar Bharat. You don't have now the kind of jobs that used to be there. Sorry. Newspapers are winding up. So much of automation is taking place. In print, electronic, there have been such huge layoffs. Where is the job market? And media schools are mushrooming all over. Students, we are preparing students, by thousands every year, and they are entering the job market. I think it is high time that we make entrepreneurial skills an integral part of our curriculum. Today, even senior most journalists who are not finding a good job have started their own YouTube ventures. They have become YouTubers. Videologgers, bloggers. And it's changing the entire landscape, the media scape, so to say. Today, more than the conventional press conferences, corporates are inviting influencers. Social media influencers are being invited. They can be bloggers. They can be people who are, content creators. Today they are being feted because they want good reviews. The new generation is not reading newspapers. They are checking your antecedents of any company, any restaurant, any movie, anything new on the internet. How do you influence them? How do you make them influencers? What is now a pastime can tomorrow become a passion, a profession. They can turn their passion into their profession, provided I give them that right kind of training. Today how you have Startup India, Skill India, so many aggregators from cabs to, food aggregators have come, offering all kinds of services. You need to groom them. You need to, today, there is no aspect of governance where communication skills are not required. From disaster management to COVID management to promotion of tourism, you name it. Whether it is governments or the corporate sector, they need good communicators. Am I training communicators? So let us stop thinking that we are going to train, groom only journalists for print, electronic and digital media. Let us now start thinking of grooming communicators. Let us facilitate the growth of good communicators. That is the big challenge today. Now, another important aspect, Dr. Fakira, I believe I've got 10 more minutes, 5 more minutes. Have I?
Sir, yes, we can go for next 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Sometimes I just, get carried away in the flow. So when I am talking to fellow media educators, it happens,
So it's an honor to hear you every time, and you inspire us so much.
Thank you.
So I shared one platform with you at MIT World Peace University, Pune.
Yes, Dr. Firoz.
Another, sir, at ABP Media Education Center.
Oh yes, absolutely.
So every time you mesmerize us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It is all your
Thank
love
you,
and
sir.
affection. The focus has to be on language skills. Language as today, somebody rightly said that English is not a language. English is a skill in our country. And for that matter, today I consider every language as a skill. So if you are in Chandigarh, please ensure that your student reads not just English content, but also reads Punjabi, Hindi, and whatever content he can lay his hands on, Urdu, Tamil, Malayalam, Dogri, Gujarati, Marathi, Bangla. The student has to today cater to an increasingly linguistic audience which is looking for content in their respective language. The English media, growth of English media has become static. The growth is in language. Whether it is electronic media, Z is diversifying, ETV is diversifying, Network 18 is diversifying. And they are all, newspapers are going into multiple editions at the district level. Now that is the way language is growing. When I was Director General at IIMC, I started Marathi journalism program from my Maharashtra campus and Malayalam journalism from my Kerala campus. The whole idea was that, that we train youngsters in communication skills in their respective languages. Because you need content creators at all levels. In my university, in my Riva campus, I have started a program in rural journalism. The whole idea is to create groom an entire army of rural communicators. Now, we have to think now out of the box. And we also have to think what to do with the box. Both kind of thinking is required. How within the current prevailing thing, how we can bring about a change. And also look for the alternatives outside. When we are, last line, because this is a subject on which I can speak endlessly for hours, I can beat V.K. Krishna Menon's record at the United Nations. because I'm so passionate about media education. The last line is that artificial intelligence, AI is changing the way we are looking at the world and the world is looking at us. How AI can be used to provide customized content. Today, the whole world is looking at customized content. If I am staying in Boston and I belong to Bareilly, no amount of American newspapers or Indian newspapers can provide me the content related to Bareilly. I need content from a local YouTuber in Bareilly who will give me information about what is happening in Bareilly. Sitting in Boston, I need to look at that. So why should I read all the Washington Post and the New York Times and the Times of India to get to know what is happening in Bareilly? I will straight away go to a portal or a website or a YouTube which talks about Bareilly because I want to know what is happening back home. So this is time for local content creation. Who can today reach out to the world? Podcasts, internet radio. There is a radio station in Jammu by the name of Radio Sharda, which is reaching out to Kashmiri Pandit community across the globe. They just tune in to listen to traditional songs, traditional, rural, their culture, heritage. That is how we are trying to reach the world. Let us create that kind of content who can think differently. So, friends, I know that every workshop, every lecture has its limitations, but it's always a pleasure to be with the fellow educators, and that too at a progressive university like the Chandigarh University, and to see so many of my friends, with whom I have had the pleasure of, being there on different platforms. Thank you so much for inviting me. I wish you the very best for the upcoming 5-day FDP, and I'm sure that you will not just fill it, shut it and forget it. You will use this knowledge from different resource persons over the next 5 days for the larger benefit of the students and your university. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for